The moment Adrian Vale's lips touched hers, Mara Quinn knew this wasn't about desire. It was about survival. A billionaire she'd met 30 seconds ago was now her only shield against a man who wanted to destroy her. One kiss, one lie, one chance to stay alive in a room full of people who'd already decided she was guilty. But what Mara didn't know was that Adrian had his own reasons for staying close. Reasons that had nothing to do with saving her, and everything to do with the secrets buried in the company she worked for. Stay with me until the end of this story. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this tale travels. The rain hit the windows of the Celestia Grand Hotel like fists. Not gentle, not romantic, just violent water against expensive glass. The kind of storm that made people grateful they were inside and nervous about how they'd get home. Mara Quinn stood near the bar, holding a glass of champagne she hadn't paid for and wearing a dress she'd bought on a credit card that was already screaming. She looked like she belonged here. That was the point. 3 months of 60-hour weeks, learning names, memorizing faces, pretending she understood art, when really she just understood survival. It all came down to tonight. The Harwick Gallery's annual investor mixer. Black ties, fake smiles, real money. She'd clawed her way into this company from nothing. No connections, no trust fund, just a sharp eye for forgery and a willingness to work harder than anyone else in the room. Now she stood among people who'd never missed a meal, never chosen between rent and heat, never understood what it meant to be one bad month away from sleeping in a car. Mara. The voice came from behind her, smooth as oil on water. She didn't turn immediately. She knew who it was. Damien Thorne. Founder. Majority stakeholder. The kind of man who smiled with his mouth but never his eyes. Mid-40s, silver at his temples, a $10,000 watch that he wore like it was nothing. Women looked at him and saw charm. Mara looked at him and saw something else, something patient, something that waited. Damien. She turned, kept her face neutral, professional. Lovely event? Isn't it? He stepped closer than necessary. Not enough to be obvious, just enough to make her spine stiffen. Though I think the real highlight is seeing how well you've adapted. 3 months and you already look like you were born to this. She smiled because she had to. I work hard. You do. His eyes traveled down, then back up, slow, deliberate. That's what I admire about you. No safety net, no daddy writing checks. You actually need this job. The words landed exactly where he meant them to. I value it, she corrected. Of course. He lifted his own glass, which is why I wanted to talk to you privately about the Singapore shipment. Her stomach dropped, but she didn't let it show. What about it? Just some discrepancies. Nothing to worry about, I'm sure. But the paperwork has your signature on several transfer documents, and I'd hate for there to be any confusion when the auditors come through next week. Auditors, her signature, transfer documents she'd never seen. He was setting her up. She'd suspected it for weeks, ever since he'd started asking her to sign off on inventory she hadn't personally verified. Ever since he'd started appearing at her desk with contracts that needed quick approval while he stood there watching, making small talk about how expensive the city was, how hard it must be for someone like her. Someone like her. Translation. Someone poor. Someone desperate. Someone who couldn't afford a lawyer if things went wrong. I signed what you asked me to sign, she said carefully. Standard transfers. Of course you did. His smile widened. I'm sure it's all perfectly fine. But just in case, and I'm only thinking of you here, Mara, it might be wise to have a conversation. Privately. My suite. Tonight. There it was. Not even subtle anymore. Her fingers tightened on the glass. I don't think that's appropriate. Appropriate. He tasted the word like wine. What an interesting choice. You know what else isn't appropriate? Embezzlement, forgery, conspiracy to defraud investors. He leaned in, voice dropping. All things that could be proven with the right evidence. All things that carry serious prison time, especially for someone without the resources to fight back. Her pulse hammered in her ears, but she kept her expression flat. I haven't done anything wrong. I know. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her shoulder. She forced herself not to flinch. But perception, Mara, perception is everything, and right now, if I wanted to, I could make you look very, very guilty. Someone laughed nearby. Music played. The party continued around them like nothing was happening. Why? The word came out harder than she intended. His eyebrows lifted. Why what? Why me? For a moment something shifted in his face, something colder. Because you're perfect, smart enough to be useful, poor enough to be disposable, and just isolated enough that when you go down, no one will ask too many questions. He straightened his cuffs. My sweet, midnight. We'll discuss your options. He walked away before she could respond. Mara stood there, champagne trembling in her hand, drowning in a room full of people who wouldn't help her even if they knew. She'd spent her whole life fighting to get here, and now the floor was falling out from under her. She needed air. She needed to think. She needed... Excuse me. The voice was different, quiet, almost forgettable. She turned. The man standing beside her was tall but not imposing. Mid-30s, dark hair, wearing a suit that fit too well to be rented but not flashy enough to draw attention. He had the kind of face you'd forget in a crowd, pleasant, unremarkable, except for his eyes. Sharp, calculating, the eyes of someone who noticed things. Sorry, she said automatically. Do we know each other? No. He glanced at the bar, then back at her. But I know him. He didn't point, didn't nod, but she understood. Damien. Her throat tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. He picked up a napkin, turned it over. There was writing on it, neat small letters. You're being framed. Offshore accounts, forged transfers. He's using you to hide 30 million. Her breath caught. He let her read it twice, then crumpled it and dropped it in his empty glass. My name is Adrian Vale. I'm a forensic accountant. I was hired 6 weeks ago to examine this company's books. He paused. I wasn't hired by Damien. She stared at him. Then who? Investors who got nervous when certain assets started disappearing. He spoke quietly, calmly, like they were discussing the weather. Damien's been running a laundering operation through the gallery for 3 years. Art comes in, gets appraised at inflated values, moves through shell companies, and the money comes out clean. You're not the first person he's used as a scapegoat. You're just the most recent. Mara's mind raced. If you know this, why haven't you? Proof is complicated. He's careful. Everything's layered. I have pieces, not a case. His eyes flicked past her shoulder. And right now, he's watching us. She didn't turn, didn't look. Just felt the weight of Damien's attention like cold water down her spine. Why are you telling me this? She whispered. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Because in about 2 hours, he's going to make his move. He'll either get you alone and force you to sign something that buries you completely, or he'll trigger the evidence he's already planted and let you take the fall while he disappears. He met her eyes. Either way, you lose. Her hands were shaking now. She set down the glass before she dropped it. So what am I supposed to do? That depends. He tilted his head slightly. How badly do you want to fight back? She thought about her apartment, the medical bills from her brother's accident last year, the student loans, the credit cards, the fragile, terrible math of her life that never quite added up, but somehow kept her moving forward. She thought about Damien's smile. She thought about prison. What do you need me to do? She asked. Adrian's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. A decision made. He's going to come back over here in about 90 seconds. When he does, he's going to make another threat. Something to remind you that you're alone. He paused. You need to make him believe you're not. How? He looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw something she hadn't expected. Hesitation, almost regret. You need to kiss me, Mara blinked. What? Men like Damien, they rely on isolation, on making their targets feel like there's no one to turn to. If he thinks you've got someone in your corner, someone who's paying attention, he'll get nervous. He'll make mistakes. Adrian's voice stayed level, professional, but there was tension in his jaw. I know it's not ideal, but it's the fastest way to change the dynamic. She wanted to laugh, wanted to scream, wanted to run. Instead, she watched Damien start moving through the crowd toward them. "He's coming," Adrian said quietly. Mara's heart slammed against her ribs. Every instinct told her to run, to hide, to make herself small. But she'd been making herself small her entire life, and it had never saved her yet. She stepped forward, closing the distance between them. Adrian went very still. "If this goes wrong," she started. "It won't." She didn't believe him, but she was out of options. So Mara Quinn, who'd spent 30 years learning to fight alone, reached up and pulled a stranger close. The kiss wasn't gentle, wasn't romantic. It was survival wrapped in lips and breath, and the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, this wouldn't be the thing that destroyed her. Adrian's hand came up to her waist, steadying, not possessive, and for 3 seconds the world narrowed to just this: the rain, the music, the warmth of another person who wasn't asking her for something she couldn't give. When she pulled back, Damien was 10 feet away, watching. His smile had frozen on his face like ice. Mara didn't let go of Adrian's arm. She met Damien's eyes and didn't look away. "Mara," Damien said slowly, "I didn't realize you were occupied." "Adrian," she said, voice steadier than she felt. "This is Damien Thorne, my boss." She squeezed Adrian's arm. "Damien, this is Adrian Vale, my—" She hesitated. What was he? A stranger, a liar, a lifeline. "Boyfriend," Adrian finished smoothly. He extended his hand. "Pleasure." Damien didn't shake it. He was too busy recalculating. She could see it happening behind his eyes, the equations shifting, the plan adjusting. "Boyfriend," he repeated. "How wonderful. I had no idea you were seeing anyone." "It's new," Mara said. "Clearly." Damien's gaze moved to Adrian, assessing. "And what do you do, Adrian?" "Consulting. Finance." Adrian's tone was boring. Forgettable. Nothing exciting. Damien's jaw tightened. Just barely. Just enough. "Well, I won't interrupt. Mara will continue our conversation another time." He walked away. The moment he was out of earshot, Mara's knees nearly buckled. Adrian's hand tightened on her waist, still steadying, still careful. "Breathe," he said quietly. She did. Once. Twice. "Did it work?" she whispered. "He's rattled. That's a start." Adrian glanced at his watch. "But now we have a different problem." "What?" "He's going to verify my story. He's probably already texting someone to look me up." He met her eyes. "Which means we need to get ahead of it. We need to make this look real." Mara stared at him. "You want to actually pretend we're together?" "For the next 48 hours, yes, just long enough to keep him off balance while I finish building the case." He paused. "Unless you have a better idea." She didn't, and they both knew it. "I don't even know you," she said. "No." Something flickered across his face. "You don't." The rain kept falling. The party kept moving, and Mara Quinn, who'd learned young that trust was a luxury she couldn't afford, made a choice she'd never be able to take back. "Okay," she said. "Okay, we'll do it." Adrian nodded once. Then he pulled out his phone, typed something, and showed her the screen. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. My hotel. We plan." She memorized the address, then watched him delete it. "One more thing," he said. "What?" "If Damien contacts you tonight, calls, texts, anything, you don't answer. You're with me. You're distracted. You're not afraid of him anymore." His voice dropped. "Can you do that?" Mara thought about the video Damien had hinted at, the one he'd recorded without her knowledge, the insurance policy he kept to make sure she'd never fight back. She thought about midnight, his suite, the choice he'd tried to take from her. "Yeah," she said. "I can do that." Adrian studied her for a long moment, and she had the strangest sense that he was memorizing her face, like he knew this moment mattered, like he understood exactly what she was risking. "Go home," he said finally. "Lock your door, get some sleep if you can. What are you going to do?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. My job. Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd like he'd never been there at all. Mara stood alone again, champagne long forgotten, dress still damp from where Adrian's hand had rested at her waist. Her phone buzzed. Damien. We still need to talk. She stared at the message, imagined his face when he'd seen her kiss Adrian, imagined the fury he'd hidden behind that frozen smile. Then she turned her phone off and walked out into the storm. Go. The apartment was too quiet. Mara sat on the edge of her bed, still in the dress, makeup smudged, and tried to make sense of what had just happened. She'd kissed a stranger. She'd agreed to fake a relationship. She'd chosen to trust someone she knew nothing about. It was insane. But the alternative was Damien's suite, Damien's threats, Damien's hands on her and no one coming to help. Her laptop sat on the desk, closed. She should sleep, should rest, should prepare for whatever came next. Instead, she opened it and typed, Adrian Vale. The search results were strange. There were mentions, brief ones. Financial consulting, corporate fraud investigation, a few articles buried in trade publications about high-profile cases, but no social media, no personal details, no photos except one grainy shot from a conference 3 years ago. He was a ghost, which meant either he was very good at his job or very good at hiding. Mara closed the laptop and lay back, staring at the ceiling. In 12 hours, she'd walk into a stranger's hotel room and put her life in his hands. In 12 hours, she'd either start fighting back or start drowning. The rain had stopped. The city hummed beyond her window. And Mara Quinn, who'd never had anyone to rely on but herself, closed her eyes and hoped, desperately, foolishly, that this time would be different. Adrian Vale sat in his hotel room, 3 floors above the bar, where he just derailed his entire investigation. He shouldn't have approached her. He should have stayed invisible, built the case, let the evidence speak. But he'd watched Damien corner her, watched the color drain from her face, watched her hold herself together through sheer force of will, and something in him had shifted, broken, maybe. He told himself it was tactical, that having her cooperation would speed things up, that she was already part of the story whether he wanted her to be or not. But the truth was simpler and more complicated than that. He'd seen himself in her. Not the poverty, not the struggle, but the isolation, the sense of being surrounded by people and still utterly alone. Adrian knew that feeling. He'd built his entire life around it. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Vale. Mr. Vale. The voice was female, professional. I represent the consortium that hired you. We've become aware of your interaction tonight. Of course they had. They had eyes everywhere. It was necessary, he said. Was it? A pause. You were hired to gather evidence, not to involve yourself personally. She's the linchpin. Damien's using her to hide everything. If I can keep her cooperative, I can trace the entire network. And if you can't? Adrian looked at his reflection in the dark window. 32 years old, a son he barely saw. A life built on numbers and distance and never letting anyone close enough to matter. Then we lose, he said simply. Another pause. Longer this time. You have 72 hours, the voice said. After that, we move forward with or without her. The line went dead. Adrian set down the phone and pulled up the files he'd been building for 6 weeks. Shell companies, forged documents, transfer records that didn't quite match. And at the center of it all, Mara Quinn's signature. Damien had chosen well. She was smart, hardworking, isolated, no family nearby, no close friends in the company, no safety net, the perfect scapegoat, unless Adrian could prove otherwise. He opened a new file, labeled it simply, Extraction Protocol. Then he started typing. If he was going to save her, he needed to move fast. Damien wouldn't wait. He'd accelerate. He'd push. He'd force Mara's hand before Adrian could build a defense, which meant Adrian needed to do something he'd spent his entire career avoiding. He needed to get close, not just professionally, not just strategically. He needed her to trust him, completely, even though she shouldn't, even though he'd probably destroy her anyway. Adrian closed his eyes and thought about the moment her lips had touched his, the way she'd trembled, The way she'd forced herself forward anyway. Brave, reckless, doomed, just like him. He opened his eyes and went back to work. Boom! Morning came too fast. Mara dressed carefully. Jeans, simple blouse. Nothing that screamed, I'm meeting a man I barely know to plot against my boss. She pulled her hair back, skipped makeup, and stared at herself in the mirror. You can do this. You have to do this. The hotel was downtown. Expensive, but not flashy. The kind of place business travelers used when the company was paying. She found his room number, knocked twice. Adrian opened the door immediately. He looked different in daylight, still unremarkable, still forgettable, but there was a tiredness around his eyes that hadn't been there last night. Come in, he said. The room was neat. Laptop open on the desk, papers spread across the bed. Empty coffee cups lined up on the nightstand like soldiers. He'd been up all night. How much do you know? She asked. Enough. He gestured to the papers. Sit. I'll walk you through it. For the next hour, Adrian showed her everything. The shell companies, the inflated appraisals, the way Damien had been moving money through the gallery for years, using art as cover, and then he showed her the documents with her signature. These are fake, he said, pointing to one. See the spacing, the pressure? Someone scanned your real signature and overlaid it. Mara's stomach turned. How many? 14 so far, probably more. Can you prove they're fake? With time and the right forensic analysis, yes. But Damien won't give us time. Adrian leaned back. He's going to move soon, probably in the next 48 hours. He'll either try to get you to sign something real that buries you, or he'll dump the false evidence and disappear before anyone can connect him to it. So what do? We steal his insurance. Mara blinked. What? Damien keeps everything backed up, encrypted, hidden, but he's arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. Adrian pulled up something on his laptop. There's an auction tomorrow night, big one. He'll be there, playing host, which means his office will be empty. You want to break into his office? I want you to distract him while I break into his office. He met her eyes. I need 30 minutes, maybe 40. Can you keep him occupied that long? She thought about it, about standing close to Damien, smiling, pretending. What if he tries? He won't. Adrian's voice was certain. Not in public, not with me there. He'll be too busy trying to figure out what we're planning. And after? After you get whatever you're looking for? Then we turn it over to the feds. They move in. Damien goes down. He paused. And you walk away clean. It sounded too simple. It sounded impossible. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Really? Adrian was silent for a long moment. Then, I have a son. He's 7. Lives with his mother in Seattle. I see him maybe once a month if I'm lucky. He looked down at his hands. I spend my life chasing people like Damien. People who hurt others because they can, because no one stops them. He looked up. I can't fix my own life, can't fix the fact that I'm a terrible father, can't fix the fact that I chose work over everything else. His jaw tightened. But maybe I can fix this. Mara understood then. He wasn't saving her. He was saving himself. Okay, she said. Tomorrow night. I'll do it. Adrian nodded. Then he pulled out a phone. Not his regular one, something cheap and disposable. Use this. Only for us. Damien might be monitoring your regular phone. She took it. Their fingers brushed. One more thing, he said. What? If this goes wrong, if Damien figures out what we're doing, you run. You don't wait for me. You don't try to help. You just run. And you? He smiled, but it was sad. I've been running my whole life. I'm good at it. Mara left 20 minutes later, burner phone hidden in her purse, mind racing with plans and fear and the terrible weight of hope. She didn't notice the black car parked across the street, didn't notice the camera pointed at the hotel entrance, didn't notice Damien Thorne in the back seat, watching her leave, his expression colder than winter. The auction was everything Damien loved. Money, power, people pretending to care about art when really they just wanted status. Mara arrived in the same dress from 2 nights ago, the only formal thing she owned. Adrian was already there, wearing a different suit, blending into the crowd like wallpaper. Their eyes met once, briefly. Then she moved toward Damien. He saw her coming, smiled. But it was wrong, sharp. "Mara, how lovely." He touched her elbow. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Wouldn't miss it," she lied. "And you're a boyfriend?" The word dripped with skepticism. "Parking. He'll be up soon." Damien's grip tightened, just slightly. I looked into him. Adrian Vale, forensic accountant, specializes in corporate fraud. His smile widened. Interesting choice of partner. Her heart stopped, but she kept her face calm. "He's good at what he does." "I'm sure." Damien leaned closer. "Which makes me wonder what he's doing with someone like you." The insult landed. She let it. "Maybe he likes projects," she said. Damien laughed. Actually, laughed. "Oh, Mara, I've always appreciated your spirit." He released her arm. "Come. Let me show you something." He led her through the crowd, past champagne and canapes and people who had more money than sense. They reached a private viewing room, small, intimate, just the two of them. Her pulse hammered. "I wanted to talk, Damien said, "about your future. My future." "Yes, see? I think we got off on the wrong foot the other night. I wasn't trying to threaten you. I was trying to protect you." He moved closer. "This business, it's complicated. Dangerous even. And you're so new, so vulnerable." His hand reached out, touched her face. "I'd hate to see you get hurt." Mara forced herself not to pull away. "I can take care of myself." "Can you?" His thumb traced her jaw. "Because from where I'm standing, you're about to make a very big mistake." "What mistake?" "Trusting Adrian Vale." His eyes glittered. "Did he tell you why he's really here? Did he tell you who hired him?" Her stomach dropped. Of course not. Because Adrian isn't here to save you, sweetheart. He's here to gather evidence. Evidence that includes you." Damien's smile was poison. "He's building a case against both of us. And when it's done, you'll go to prison right alongside me, unless what? Unless you help me first." He pulled out his phone, showed her a video. It was dark, grainy. But she recognized herself. Recognized the storage room. Recognized the moment 3 weeks ago when Damien had asked her to verify a shipment that had never actually arrived. "See this? This is you signing off on stolen goods. Goods that were never recovered. Goods worth $3 million. He put the phone away. "Now, I have the real documentation showing where those goods went. But if I wanted to, I could make it look like you stole them, sold them, kept the money." He tilted his head. "Or you could help me disappear, and I make sure you stay clean." Outside, the auction was starting. She could hear the auctioneer's voice, the crowd gathering. She had to keep him talking. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. Damien smiled like he'd won. "There's a transfer, tonight, midnight, a final shipment moving through the port. I need you to sign off on it. In person, on camera, nice and official. And then I leave. You stay. And when the auditors come, you tell them you were following my orders. You didn't know. You were just doing your job." He stroked her cheek. "They might even believe you." "Might?" Mara's hands were shaking. She clenched them. "I need to think about it." "No." His grip tightened on her arm, hard enough to bruise. "You need to decide right now, me or Adrian, safety or prison." He leaned in, breath hot against her ear. "Choose wisely, Mara, because this is the only offer you're going to get." Her phone buzzed. The burner. Adrian's message was 2 words. "I'm in." Damien heard the buzz, frowned. "Who's texting you?" "No one, just—" He grabbed her purse, pulled out the phone, saw the message. His face went white, then red, then something worse. "You little—" He raised his hand. The door burst open. Adrian stood there, breathing hard, something in his hand, a flash drive. Damien spun. "You. Me." Adrian looked at Mara. Run. She didn't hesitate, didn't think, just ran. Behind her, she heard shouting, crashing, Damien's voice rising in fury. She hit the main hall. People stared. The auction paused, and then the lights went out. Emergency lights kicked in, red, pulsing. Someone screamed. Mara pushed through the crowd, searching for Adrian, searching for an exit, searching for anything that made sense. A hand grabbed her. She spun, ready to fight. It was Adrian, blood on his lip, eyes wild. "Did you get it?" she gasped. "I got it." He pulled her toward the stairs. "But he knows. He knows everything. What do we do?" "We finish this." They ran. Behind them, Damien's voice echoed through the darkness. "You can't run forever." But they tried anyway, because sometimes running was all you had left. The stairwell smelled like concrete and panic. Their footsteps echoed off the walls as they descended, floor after floor, Adrian's hand tight around her wrist. Mara's heels weren't made for running, and she stumbled twice before kicking them off entirely, the cold floor biting into her bare feet. "Where are we going?" she gasped. "Anywhere but here." Not helpful. But she didn't have the breath to argue. They hit the ground floor and Adrian yanked her sideways, away from the main exit where security would be gathering. Instead, he pushed through a service door marked staff only. And suddenly, they were in a kitchen, stainless steel and steam, and two cooks who looked up in surprise. "Sorry," Adrian said, not slowing down. "Wedding emergency." They were through and out the back before anyone could respond. The alley was dark and wet from earlier rain. Trash bins lined one wall. The smell of rotting food mixed with exhaust from the street beyond. Mara bent over, hands on her knees, trying to catch her breath. "What happened up there? Did he hurt you?" Adrian touched his lip where blood had dried. "He tried. I'm faster." He pulled out the flash drive, held it up to the dim light like it was made of gold. "This is everything, every account, every transfer, every piece of evidence showing exactly what he's been doing." "How did you get it?" "His office safe. He's got a birthday lock. Used his daughter's birthday." Adrian's expression darkened. Predictable. Mara wanted to sit down, wanted to scream, wanted to wake up and discover this was all some horrible nightmare. "What do we do now? We can't just walk into a police station with this. Damien has connections. He'll have lawyers there before we finish talking." "Not the police." Adrian was already walking, pulling her with him. "The feds. The people who hired me. They've been building a parallel case, but they needed proof of the overseas accounts. This is it." They reached the street. Cars passed. Normal people doing normal things, none of them knowing that two people were currently running for their lives in formal wear and bare feet. Adrian hailed a cab. When it pulled over, he gave an address Mara didn't recognize. "Where?" "Safe house. The consortium set it up." He looked at her, really looked at her. "You okay?" Was she okay? She'd just watched a man she'd trusted for months reveal himself as a monster. She'd run through a hotel like a criminal. She'd put her entire future in the hands of someone she barely knew. "No?" she said honestly. "I'm not okay." He nodded like he'd expected that answer. "Yeah, me neither." The cab driver didn't ask questions. Maybe he was used to well-dressed people fleeing into the night. Maybe he just didn't care. The safe house turned out to be a nondescript apartment in a building that had seen better decades. Chipped paint, flickering hallway lights, the smell of old carpet and someone's dinner cooking behind thin walls. Adrian unlocked the door and ushered her inside. The apartment was small, clean but impersonal. Furniture that came with the lease. No photos, no personality. Just a place to exist temporarily. He locked the door behind them. 3 locks. Then he pulled the curtains closed and finally let out a long breath. "We're safe here. For now." Mara sank onto the couch. Her feet were filthy from the alley and probably bleeding, but she couldn't bring herself to care. "For now," she repeated. "What does that mean?" Adrian was already at a laptop set up on the kitchen table, plugging in the flash drive. "It means Damien knows we have something. He'll be looking for us. But he can't move openly. Not yet. Not while the auction's still happening and people are watching." "So we have what? A few hours? Maybe less." The laptop screen reflected in his eyes as he typed. Depends how desperate he gets. Mara watched him work. His fingers moved fast, confident, like this was something he'd done 1,000 times before. You've done this before. Run. Hidden. Part of the job. What about your son? His hands paused, just for a second. What about him? Does he know what you do? Adrian's jaw tightened. He knows I'm gone a lot. He knows I miss birthdays and school plays and every other thing that matters. He went back to typing. He probably thinks I don't care. Do you? More than anything. The words came out rough, raw, which is why I keep taking jobs like this. Keep telling myself that if I can just close one more case, catch one more criminal, make one more difference, then maybe it'll balance out. Maybe I'll deserve to be his father. Mara understood that kind of math. The desperate arithmetic of trying to earn something you thought you'd already lost. Does it work? She asked quietly. Does it balance? He looked at her then. No, it never does. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the laptop and distant traffic. Mara pulled her knees up to her chest, suddenly aware of how exposed she felt. The dress, the bare feet, the way this stranger had seen her terrified and desperate and still hadn't looked away. I need to call my brother, she said. No. Adrian's voice was sharp. No calls. Damien could be monitoring anyone you know. He's in a care facility 3 states away. He doesn't even know where I work. Doesn't matter. Damien's thorough. He'll use whatever leverage he can find. Adrian's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry, but right now, the safest thing you can do for your brother is stay silent. Mara's throat tightened. Her brother Danny, 25 years old and stuck in a wheelchair after an accident that never should have happened. She called him every Sunday, sent money when she could, visited twice a year when she could scrape together bus fare. If something happened to her, who would take care of him? Hey! Adrian's voice pulled her back. We're going to fix this, I promise. You can't promise that. You're right, I can't. He turned the laptop toward her. But I can show you this. The screen displayed a web of connections, bank accounts, shell companies, names she recognized from the gallery and names she didn't. And at the center of it all, highlighted in red, Damien Thorne. This is what he's been building for 3 years, Adrian said. $30 million moved through the gallery. Art bought with dirty money, sold at inflated prices, the profit laundered clean. He used 14 different people as signatories over that time. You're just the most recent. What happened to the others? Adrian's silence was answer enough. Mara felt cold. He set them up, like he was setting me up. 2 are in prison. 3 took plea deals and disappeared. The rest? He pulled up another file. Photos. Dead, car accidents, overdoses. 1 jumped from a building. He looked at her. Damien doesn't leave loose ends. The room spun. Mara pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to hold herself together. I'm going to die. No. Adrian moved closer, crouched in front of the couch, so they were eye level. You're not, because we're going to turn this over to the feds tonight. They'll move immediately. Warrants, seizures, arrests. Damien won't have time to run or clean up. And me? What happens to me? You cooperate, you testify, you tell them everything. He paused. And then you disappear. New city, new name if necessary. The consortium will help with that. New name. She laughed, but it sounded broken. I don't even like my current name and I'm supposed to pick a new one? Mara, I'm sorry. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. I spent my whole life trying to build something, trying to be someone, and now you're telling me I have to throw it all away and start over somewhere else as someone else. I know. His voice was gentle. I know it's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. She looked at him. You're risking your life for someone you don't know. Why? Really? Adrian sat back on his heels. For a moment he didn't answer, then, when I was 25, I had everything. New wife, new baby, new job at a firm that paid more than my father made in a year. I was going to be different, going to be present, going to be the dad I never had. He smiled, but it was bitter. Then the first big case came. Corporation hiding assets during a divorce. Messy, complicated. Would take months to unravel. My boss said if I cracked it, I'd make partner. And you took it. I took it. Missed my son's first steps. Missed his first word. Missed everything that mattered while I chased numbers and documents and the promise of something bigger. He looked down at his hands. My wife left me. Took our son. Said I'd already made my choice and she wasn't going to wait around for me to figure out what I'd lost. I'm sorry. Don't be, she was right. He met Mara's eyes. I've spent 7 years trying to justify that choice, telling myself the work matters, that catching people like Damien makes a difference, that maybe if I save enough people, it'll make up for failing the one person I was supposed to protect. He stood. So that's why. I'm not saving you. I'm trying to save myself from being the person I've become. Mara didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to tell him that she understood, that she'd spent her whole life running from poverty and loneliness and the fear that she'd never be enough for anyone. Instead, she said, "What time are the feds coming?" Adrian checked his watch. 2 hours, maybe less. I sent them a preliminary brief. They'll want to verify the data before they move. So we wait. We wait. The silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, Mara stood. I need to clean up. Is there a bathroom? Down the hall. Towels in the closet. The bathroom was small and sterile. White tile. Fluorescent light. Mara looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Smudged makeup, wild hair, eyes that had seen too much in too short a time. She washed her face, her feet, changed out of the dress and into clothes Adrian had grabbed from somewhere, sweatpants and a t-shirt that were too big but clean and soft and hers for now. When she came out, Adrian was on the phone, speaking quietly, professionally. Yes, I understand the risk, but she's cooperating fully. She'll testify. Pause. No deals for Thorne. He goes down for everything. Another pause. I don't care what his lawyers say. The evidence is solid. He hung up, saw Mara. That was the lead investigator. They're sending a team now, should be here in 90 minutes. And then? And then you tell them everything. Every conversation, every document you signed, every threat he made. Adrian's expression was serious. It's going to be hard. They'll ask the same questions different ways. They'll push. They'll test your story. But you have to stay consistent. I'm not lying. I know. But under pressure, people forget details, mix up timelines. It's normal. Just stay calm and tell the truth. Mara nodded. She could do that. She'd spent her whole life telling the truth and having no one believe her. Maybe this time would be different. Her stomach growled, loud, embarrassing. Adrian almost smiled. When's the last time you ate? She tried to remember. Breakfast? Maybe. He moved to the kitchen, started pulling things from the refrigerator. Bread, cheese, some kind of deli meat. Not much here, but I can make sandwiches. You don't have to. I know, but we've got time and you need food. He glanced at her. Besides, it's easier than sitting here thinking about everything that could go wrong. Fair point. They ate in silence. The sandwiches were simple but good. Real food. Grounding. Mara felt some of the panic recede with each bite. Tell me about your son, she said. Adrian looked surprised. Why? Because I need to think about something other than Damien, and you look like you could use the reminder. He was quiet for a moment, then, his name is Ethan. He's 7. Obsessed with dinosaurs and space and anything that has wheels. A real smile touched his face. Last time I saw him, he spent 40 minutes explaining the difference between a Brachiosaurus and a Brontosaurus. I didn't understand half of it, but I didn't care. Does he look like you? No, thank God. He looks like his mother, which means he's actually cute. The smile faded. She's remarried now. Guy named Tom, accountant, home every night by 6, coaches Ethan's soccer team. Everything you're not. Yeah. Adrian set down his sandwich. I used to hate him, Tom, thought he was stealing my life. But the truth is he's giving Ethan the life I never could. Stability, presence, someone who's actually there. That doesn't mean Ethan doesn't need you. Doesn't it? He looked at her. What good is a father who shows up once a month with gifts and apologies, who makes promises he can't keep? Mara thought about her own father, gone before she was old enough to remember him. Just a name on a birth certificate and a hole in her life she'd learned to live around. Even a bad father is better than no father, she said. Trust me. Before Adrian could respond, his phone buzzed. He looked at it, frowned. What? The team's been delayed 45 minutes. Why? Doesn't say. He typed something back, waited. Probably traffic or bureaucracy. Federal agents aren't known for their speed. Mara tried not to let the anxiety creep back in. 45 minutes. Not that long. They were safe here. Damien didn't know where they were, right? Adrian must have seen something in her face because he said, "We're okay. This location's clean. Only 3 people know about it, and they're all on our side." You're sure? As sure as I can be. Not exactly reassuring, but it was all they had. The minutes crawled. Mara tried to distract herself by looking around the apartment. No personal items, no photos, just generic furniture and blank walls. You live like this? She asked. All the time? Pretty much. Different cities, different apartments, all the same inside. Doesn't it get lonely? Adrian didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quiet. Yeah, it does. Mara understood. She'd spent years surrounded by people and still felt invisible, working jobs where no one knew her name, living in apartments where neighbors never said hello, building a life that looked fine from the outside but felt hollow inside. After this, she said, where will you go? Seattle, to see Ethan. I promised him I'd be there for his birthday next week. He paused. Probably won't make it, but I'll try. You should make it. Easier said than done. So make it hard. Mara surprised herself with the intensity in her voice. Make it the priority, not the work, not the case. Him. Adrian looked at her like she'd said something profound instead of obvious. You sound like my ex-wife. Maybe she was right. She was. I just didn't want to hear it. Mara's phone, the burner, buzzed. She picked it up. Unknown number. Her blood went cold. Adrian? He was at her side immediately. Don't answer it. What if it's the feds? They'd use my number. He took the phone, looked at the screen. His expression darkened. It's him. Damien. How did he get this number? Mara's voice came out shaky. I don't know. Adrian was already at the laptop, typing fast. This number's clean, untraceable. He shouldn't have... The phone buzzed again. A text this time. Damien, I know where you are. Mara felt the floor drop out from under her. That's not possible. Adrian's face had gone pale. The cab. He must have had someone watching, followed us. What do we do? He was already moving, grabbing the laptop, shoving it in a bag. We leave, now. Another text. You have something that belongs to me. Then another. Give it back and I'll let you live. Adrian grabbed Mara's arm, pulled her toward the door. We need to... The lights went out, complete darkness. No warning. Just gone. Mara's heart hammered so loud she could hear it in her ears. Adrian? I'm here. His voice came from her left. Stay close. A sound from outside. Footsteps. Multiple people. Backup exit? Mara whispered. Fire escape. Kitchen window. They moved through the darkness. Mara kept one hand on Adrian's shoulder, the other stretched in front of her, her bare feet silent on the carpet. Behind them, someone tried the door handle, found it locked. Then came the sound of picking. Professional, fast. They reached the kitchen. Adrian fumbled with the window. It stuck. Come on, he muttered. Come on. The front door opened. Light spilled in from the hallway. Silhouettes. 3 of them. Big. Moving with purpose. The window gave. Adrian shoved it open, helped Mara through first. The fire escape was old metal. Rusty. It creaked under her weight. She climbed down fast, not caring about the noise now. Just needed distance. Adrian came through the window behind her, Above them, she heard shouting. Someone ran to the window. "Go!" Adrian yelled. They hit the alley at a run. Mara's feet screamed in pain, but she didn't slow, couldn't slow. A shot rang out. Not close, but close enough. Adrian yanked her left into a side street, then right, then through a gap between buildings so narrow she had to turn sideways. They came out on a main street. Traffic, people, witnesses. Adrian hailed another cab. Different company, different driver. They got in. He gave an address on the other side of the city. Only when they were moving, surrounded by traffic and distance, did Mara let herself breathe. "He found us," she said. "He actually found us." Adrian's hands were shaking. She could see it even in the dim light of the cab. Someone talked. Someone on the inside. Who? "I don't know, but it means we can't trust the Safe House network, can't trust the consortium." He looked at her. "We're on our own." Mara wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to give up. Instead, she asked, "What now?" Adrian pulled out his phone, started deleting things, messages, contacts, everything. "Now we finish this ourselves." "How?" "The feds wanted time to verify the data. We don't have time, so we forced their hand." He looked up at her. "We go public. Release everything, every document, every account, every piece of evidence. We flood the internet with it before Damien can stop us." "He'll kill us." "He's already trying." Adrian's expression was grim. "At least this way, if we die, he goes down with us." The cab driver hadn't said a word, probably didn't want to know. Mara thought about Danny, about never seeing him again, about dying in some alley over money and art and a man's greed. Then she thought about all the people Damien had already destroyed, the ones in prison, the ones dead, the ones who'd tried to fight back and lost. "Okay," she said, "let's burn it all down." Adrian almost smiled. "You sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." He pulled out the flash drive, held it like a grenade. "There's a internet cafe 2 blocks from where I told the driver. We upload from there, multiple sites, multiple formats, make it impossible to scrub. And then we call every news outlet we can think of. Tell them to look. Tell them what they'll find." He met her eyes. "And then we run like hell and hope the truth moves faster than Damien's lawyers." The cab stopped. Adrian paid cash. They got out into a neighborhood Mara didn't recognize, neon signs, late-night shops, people who didn't ask questions. The cafe was small and smelled like burnt coffee and old computers. The kid at the counter barely looked up when they came in. Adrian paid for 2 hours. They sat at a terminal in the back. And then, with shaking hands and racing hearts, they started uploading. Every document, every spreadsheet, every piece of evidence that Damien Thorne was a criminal. It took 40 minutes. The longest 40 minutes of Mara's life. When it was done, Adrian sent emails, dozens of them, news sites, investigative journalists, financial watchdogs, anyone who might care. Then he hit send on all of them at once. "Done," he said quietly. Mara stared at the screen, at the proof of everything they'd just unleashed. What happens now? Now? Adrian closed the browser, cleared the history, stood. "Now we find out if we just saved ourselves or signed our own death warrants." They walked out into the night. The city hummed around them, oblivious, uncaring, just another night for everyone except them. Mara's burner phone buzzed. She almost didn't look. But something made her. "Damien, you just made the biggest mistake of your life." She showed Adrian. He read it, deleted it, then threw the phone in a trash can. "He's right," Mara said. "Maybe." Adrian looked at her. "Or maybe we just won." They didn't know yet. Wouldn't know for hours, maybe days. But for the first time since this started, Mara felt something other than fear. She felt dangerous, and she liked it. They found a 24-hour diner 6 blocks away. The kind of place where the fluorescent lights buzzed and the coffee tasted like it had been sitting since noon. Adrian ordered 2 cups and a plate of fries neither of them would eat. The waitress didn't care. She'd seen worse than 2 people in rumpled clothes looking like they'd just outrun death. Mara's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She wrapped them around the coffee cup, letting the heat burn her palms. It felt real, grounding. "How long before someone notices?" she asked. Adrian checked his phone, a new one he'd bought from a convenience store with cash. Untraceable. Temporary. The uploads went live 17 minutes ago. If anyone's monitoring those sites, they already know. And Damien? He'll know within the hour. Maybe sooner if he's got alerts set up. Adrian's voice was flat, exhausted. Then it's a race. Can we get the story out before he can bury it? The diner's TV played in the corner, some late-night show. Laughter. Normalcy. Everything they'd lost. Mara's phone, the new burner Adrian had grabbed, sat on the table between them, silent, waiting. "We should call the feds, what?" she said. "Tell them what we did." "No, not yet." Adrian dumped 3 sugars into his coffee and didn't drink it. If there's a leak in the consortium, the feds might know about it. Might be part of it. We wait until the story breaks publicly. Then they'll have no choice but to move. And if it doesn't break? He looked at her. Then we're already dead and it doesn't matter. Honest, brutal, true. Mara laughed. Couldn't help it. The sound came out broken and slightly hysterical. "You know what's funny? I spent my whole life trying to be safe. Worked the right jobs, followed the rules, never took risks. And here I am anyway, running, hiding, waiting to see if I live through the night." "Safe is an illusion," Adrian said. "I figured that out when my wife left. I'd built this whole life around security. Good job, good money, good future. And it meant nothing because I was never actually there for any of it." "Do you regret it? Every day?" He finally drank the coffee, made a face. "But regret doesn't change anything, just makes you miserable while you keep making the same mistakes." "Is that what this is? Another mistakes?" Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Probably, but at least this time I'm making it for the right reasons." The waitress came by with the check. Adrian paid, left a tip that was too big because what did money matter now anyway? They were halfway to the door when Mara's phone rang. Both of them froze. Unknown number. Again. Adrian grabbed it first, looked at the screen. His expression shifted. "It's not him." "Then who?" He answered. Put it on speaker. "Yeah?" A woman's voice, professional, clipped. "Is this Adrian Vale?" "Who's asking?" "My name is Rebecca Chen. I'm an investigative journalist with the Financial Chronicle. I just received some very interesting documents in my inbox about Harwick Gallery and a man named Damien Thorne." A pause. "I'd very much like to talk to whoever sent them." Mara's breath caught. Adrian's eyes met hers. He mouthed, "Your call." She took the phone. "This is Mara Quinn. I sent them." "Ms. Quinn." The name rolled off Rebecca's tongue like she was tasting it, testing it. "These documents, are they legitimate?" "Yes, every single one." "And you're willing to go on record, testify if necessary?" Mara thought about Damien, about his threats, about the video he had, about everything she stood to lose. Then she thought about the people who'd come before her, the ones who'd stayed silent and died anyway. "Yes," she said. "I'll testify to all of it." "Good." Rebecca's voice sharpened. "Because this is big. 30 million in laundered assets, shell companies spanning 4 countries, art fraud, tax evasion. And that's just what I can verify from a preliminary scan." Papers rustled. "Where are you right now?" Adrian took the phone back. "Somewhere safe where Damien Thorne can't find us." "Is he looking?" "He sent men to kill us 2 hours ago, so yes, he's looking." A long pause. "I need to meet you, in person, with cameras. This story needs faces, real people. Otherwise it's just numbers and accusations." "Too dangerous," Adrian said. "More dangerous than hiding in diners and hoping he doesn't find you first?" Rebecca's voice cut through the static. "Listen, I've been tracking Thorne for 8 months, ever since a source told me something wasn't right at Harwick. But I couldn't prove anything. Every lead went cold. Every witness disappeared or refused to talk." She exhaled. "You two just handed me everything I needed. But if this is going to stick, if we're going to make sure he can't weasel out with lawyers and bribes, I need your testimony on camera, tonight." Mara looked at Adrian. He looked back. No words. Just the silent question. Do we trust her? They'd trusted the consortium. That hadn't worked out. They trusted the safe house. That had almost gotten them killed. But what choice did they have? Where? Adrian asked. My studio, downtown. I can have a crew ready in an hour. No, too public, too easy for him to monitor. Adrian thought for a moment. There's a warehouse district on the east side, old shipping area, mostly abandoned. I'll send you an address. You come alone. Just you and one cameraman, no one else. Agreed, 1 hour. The line went dead. Mara set down the phone. Are we actually doing this? Unless you have a better idea. She didn't, so they finished their terrible coffee and walked back out into the night. The warehouse district was exactly what Adrian had described. Empty buildings, broken windows, graffiti on every surface. The kind of place where bad things happened and nobody heard you scream. Perfect. They found an old shipping facility with a roll-up door that wasn't completely rusted shut. Adrian forced it open just enough for them to slip inside. The interior was vast and empty. Concrete floors, metal beams, echoes that made every sound feel bigger than it was. How did you know about this place? Mara asked. Worked a case here 3 years ago. Corporate embezzlement. CEO was hiding assets in dummy storage units. He walked the perimeter, checking exits. Never forget a location. Must be useful. Sometimes. He stopped near a loading dock. This is good. Open space. We can see anyone coming. Multiple exits if things go bad. Always assuming things will go bad. They usually do. Mara sat on an old crate and waited. Her feet throbbed. She looked down and saw blood. Not a lot, but enough. The running, the fire escape, the alley. It had all added up, Adrian noticed. You're hurt. It's fine. It's not fine. He disappeared into the shadows and came back with a first aid kit. Found this in an office. Probably expired, but better than nothing. He knelt in front of her and cleaned the cuts. His hands were gentle, careful, like he'd done this before. You have kids, and you learn, he said, reading her expression. Scraped knees, splinters. Once Ethan fell off his bike and needed 6 stitches. I wasn't there. Tom handled it. His jaw tightened. But I learned anyway. For the next time. Does there ever be a next time? Not often enough. He wrapped her feet in gauze. Too much, probably, but it felt better. Thank you, Mara said quietly. Don't thank me yet. We're not out of this. Headlights cut through the darkness outside. A car pulling up, stopping. Adrian was on his feet instantly, hand moving to his waistband. Mara hadn't noticed the gun before. Didn't know he'd been carrying one. Stay behind me, he said. The roll-up door screeched. Someone pushed it higher. 2 figures stepped through. A woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and graying hair. Behind her, a younger guy with a camera on his shoulder. Rebecca Chen. She looked around the warehouse, unimpressed. Atmospheric, I like it. Adrian didn't lower the gun. You alone? Except for Marcus. She gestured to the cameraman. He's good. Won't talk. Won't share footage without my permission. Marcus nodded. Didn't speak. Adrian waited another moment. Then he holstered the gun. You have 30 minutes. I'll need longer than that. 30 minutes, then we leave. Damien's people could be tracking you. Rebecca smiled. Thin, professional. Damien's people are currently very busy dealing with federal agents who just showed up at his home with a warrant. Happened 20 minutes ago. It's all over the police scanners. Mara's heart jumped. They arrested him? Not yet, but they're searching the property, seizing records. He can't run, can't hide, can't make you disappear. Rebecca pulled out a tablet, started setting up. Which means right now, while he's distracted, is the perfect time to get your story. It was happening. Actually happening. Mara felt lightheaded, like the floor had turned to water. Adrian touched her shoulder. You okay? No. Yes. I don't know. She looked at Rebecca. What do you need me to say? The truth. Start at the beginning. Tell me how you met Damien Thorne. Marcus set up the camera, adjusted lights, made sure the frame was right. And then, with Adrian standing just out of shot and Rebecca's eyes boring into her, Mara Quinn told her story. She started with the job interview, the desperation in her voice when she'd begged for the position, The way Damien had looked at her like he was calculating her worth. She talked about the long hours, the signatures he'd asked for, the documents she hadn't questioned because she'd been too afraid of losing everything. She talked about the night at the hotel, the threats, the video, the way he'd touched her face and told her she was perfect for what he needed. She talked about Adrian, the kiss, the decision to fight back, and she talked about the evidence, everything they'd found, everything they'd uploaded, everything that proved Damien Thorne was a monster dressed in expensive suits. She cried twice, couldn't help it. The fear, the anger, the relief of finally being believed. Rebecca didn't interrupt, just let her talk. Let the camera catch every word, every tear, every moment of raw truth. When Mara finished, her throat was raw and her hands were shaking again. "That was perfect," Rebecca said. "Thank you. What happens now?" "Now I go back to my studio and edit this. It'll air tomorrow morning, prime time. And by tomorrow afternoon, Damien Thorne will be the most hated man in the country." "Osreit, nis paraisa." She stood. "You two should disappear, at least until the arrests are made. Go somewhere quiet, somewhere he can't find you." "We don't have anywhere to go," Mara said. Rebecca pulled out a business card, wrote something on the back. "My sister has a cabin upstate, 2 hours north. No one knows about it except family. Stay there. I'll call when it's safe." Adrian took the card. "Why are you helping us?" "Because you're doing what 14 other people were too scared to do. You're fighting back." Rebecca's expression hardened. "And because I had a friend, 10 years ago. She worked for a man like Damien. When she tried to expose him, she ended up dead. Car accident, except it wasn't an accident." She picked up her tablet. "I couldn't save her, but maybe I can save you." Marcus was already packing up the camera, moving fast, efficient. "Go," Rebecca said. "Now, before someone notices we're here." Adrian didn't argue, just grabbed Mara's hand and pulled her toward a back exit. They slipped out into an alley. Different car this time. Something Adrian had arranged while Mara was talking. She didn't ask how. Didn't care. The cabin was exactly what Rebecca had promised. Small, isolated, surrounded by trees and silence and nothing else. They arrived just before dawn, the sky turning gray, birds starting to wake. Inside, the cabin was simple. 1 bedroom, small kitchen, a couch that had seen better years. But it was warm, safe, hidden. Mara collapsed onto the couch. Every muscle in her body ached. Every nerve was fried. Adrian stood by the window, watching the road, always watching. "You should sleep," he said. "Can't." "Try." She closed her eyes, opened them. What if it doesn't work? What if the story airs and nothing happens? Then we run again, keep running until we can't. I'm tired of running. Me too. He finally turned away from the window, sat in a chair across from her. But we're good at it, so we'll keep doing it until we don't have to anymore. Mara studied his face, the exhaustion written in every line. When's the last time you slept? 2 days ago, maybe 3. You need rest. So do you. They stared at each other, both too stubborn to give in, both too wired to actually relax. Finally, Adrian stood. I'll take first watch. You sleep. I'll wake you in 4 hours and we'll switch. You don't have to. Yes, I do. His voice was firm, final. Sleep, Mara. So she did. Or tried to. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damien's face, heard his voice, felt his hand on her arm. She must have drifted off eventually because when she woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows and Adrian was sitting in the same chair, laptop open, eyes glued to the screen. What time is it? She asked groggily. Almost 9. He didn't look up. The story just aired. Mara was awake instantly. And? He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen, Rebecca Chen sat at a news desk. Professional, serious. And below her the headline, Billionaire art dealer accused of fraud, money laundering. Mara's photo appeared. Then Adrian's. Then shot after shot of the documents they'd leaked. Rebecca's voice filled the cabin. This morning, we bring you an exclusive investigation into Damien Thorne, founder of Harwick Gallery, and what federal investigators are calling one of the largest art fraud schemes in U.S. history. At the center of this scandal is Mara Quinn, a junior consultant who claims she was set up to take the fall for Thorne's crimes. The interview played. Mara watched herself on screen, crying, angry, telling the truth. It looked real. It looked devastating. "It's working," Adrian said quietly. "Look at the comments. Look at social media." He pulled up Twitter. The story was trending. Thousands of retweets, millions of views. People believed her, actually believed her. Mara's hands flew to her mouth. "Oh my God, it gets better." Adrian switched tabs. Federal agents raided Harwick Gallery an hour ago, seized all records, froze all accounts. Damien's lawyers are already trying to spin it, but they can't. The evidence is everywhere. Is he arrested? Not yet, but he will be, probably by tonight. Mara couldn't breathe, couldn't think. After everything, after all the fear and running and nearly dying, they'd won, actually won. She started crying, couldn't stop. Just sat there sobbing while Adrian closed the laptop and moved to sit beside her. "Hey," he said. "You're okay. We're okay." I know, I just..." She wiped her eyes. "I didn't think it would work. I really didn't. Neither did I." That made her laugh through the tears. "You hit it well. Years of practice." He handed her a tissue from somewhere. "But yeah, I was terrified the whole time." "You? Terrified?" "Absolutely. This whole thing was insane. Could have gone wrong in 1,000 different ways." He leaned back against the couch. "But it didn't. And now Damien's done. His empire's collapsing, and you get to walk away. Walk away. Start over. New name, new city, new life. It should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like loss." "What about you?" Mara asked. "Where will you go?" "Seattle, see Ethan. Try to be a better father. Try to..." He stopped. Started again. "Try to stop running from the things that matter." "Will it work?" "Probably not, but I'm going to try anyway." The cabin was quiet. Just them and the sunlight and the fading adrenaline. Mara looked at Adrian, really looked at him, this stranger who'd saved her, who'd risked everything for someone he didn't know. "Why did you really do this?" she asked. "The truth." Adrian was quiet for a long time, then, "Because when I saw Damien corner you that night, I saw every person I'd ever failed to help, every case I'd closed without thinking about the human cost, every time I'd chosen numbers over people." He met her eyes. "And I was tired of being that person, so I chose differently. You saved my life, eh? You saved mine too." He stood. "Come on. Rebecca said she'd call when it was safe. Until then, we should eat something. There's food in the kitchen, not much, but enough." They made breakfast together, eggs and toast and coffee that was better than the diners. They ate in silence. Comfortable. Easy. Like they'd known each other for years instead of days. Mara's phone rang around noon. "Rebecca." "Is it done?" Mara asked. "It's done. Damien Thorne was arrested 40 minutes ago. Federal building. Cameras everywhere. He tried to run. They tackled him in the parking garage." Rebecca sounded satisfied, vindicated. "He's not getting out this time. The evidence is too strong. The public outrage is too loud." "What about the video? The one he had of me?" "Corrupted. His lawyers tried to use it, but the file's damaged. Barely any footage left. Can't be used as evidence." A pause. "You're clear, Mara. Completely clear." Mara closed her eyes, let out a breath she'd been holding for weeks. "Thank you. Thank you. This story, it's going to win awards. More importantly, it's going to put him away forever." Rebecca's voice softened. "You can come back now. It's safe." They drove back to the city that evening. Sunset painted everything gold and orange, beautiful in a way Mara had forgotten existed. The streets felt different, like she was seeing them for the first time. Free. Alive. Hers. Adrian dropped her at her apartment. Same building, same chipped paint, but it felt different too. "What will you do now?" he asked. "I don't know. Find a new job, probably. One where my boss doesn't try to frame me for felonies." She smiled. "What about you?" Airport, red-eye to Seattle. If I leave now, I can make Ethan's birthday breakfast. Will you tell him about this? Someday, when he's old enough to understand. Adrian hesitated, then, can I ask you something? Sure. That kiss, the first night, was it? He stopped, started again. Did you feel anything, or was it just survival? Mara thought about it, about the moment their lips had touched, about the warmth and fear and desperate hope. Both, she said honestly. It was survival, but it was also the first time in years anyone had made me feel like I mattered. She looked at him. What about you? Same. He smiled, sad, genuine. Take care of yourself, Mara Quinn. You too, Adrian Vale. He drove away, disappeared into traffic, and Mara stood on the sidewalk watching until his taillights faded. Then she went inside, climbed the stairs, unlocked her door. Her apartment was untouched. No one had broken in. No one had searched it. Just her space. Her life. Waiting for her to come back. She sat on the couch and turned on the TV. News coverage everywhere. Damien's arrest. The scandal. Her face. Her phone rang. Her real phone. The one she'd left behind. Danny's number. She answered. Hey. Mara? Her brother's voice was frantic. I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. Are you okay? I saw the news. I saw your face. What the hell happened? And so she told him. Everything. The whole story from beginning to end. When she finished, Danny was quiet. Then, you're insane. You know that, right? Yeah, I know. But you're okay? You're safe. I'm safe. Good. He exhaled. I'm proud of you, scared out of my mind, but proud. Thanks, Danny. They talked for another hour, about nothing, about everything, about the future and what came next. When they hung up, Mara felt lighter than she had in months. She showered, changed into real clothes, made tea, and for the first time in forever, she sat in her apartment and felt like she belonged there. The next morning, the board of Harwick Gallery issued a statement. They were cooperating fully with federal investigators. All operations suspended pending review. Anyone implicated would be terminated immediately. Mara's name was cleared publicly. An apology issued. An offer extended. Returned to work with a promotion and a raise. She declined. Some doors, once you walked through them, you couldn't go back. Instead, she took a job with Rebecca's paper. Research, investigation, finding stories that mattered. It paid less, but it felt right. 3 weeks later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a photo. Ethan and Adrian. Birthday cake between them. Both smiling. On the back, in Adrian's handwriting, thanks for reminding me what matters. Amara put it on her fridge and got back to work. The photo stayed on her fridge for 2 months before Mara heard from Adrian again. Not directly. Just a news alert that popped up on her phone while she was buried in research for Rebecca's latest investigation into pharmaceutical fraud. The headline read, Damien Thorne trial set for January. She clicked through, scanned the article. Federal prosecutors were pushing for maximum sentences on all counts: money laundering, fraud, conspiracy. The evidence was overwhelming. Adrian Vale was listed as a key witness for the prosecution. Mara stared at his name on the screen, wondered if he was nervous, if he was sleeping, if he'd kept his promise to be a better father. She almost texted him, almost pulled up the last number he'd given her. But what would she say? Thanks for saving my life? Miss having someone try to kill us together? Instead, she closed her phone and went back to work. The pharmaceutical story broke 3 weeks later. Another fraud scheme. Different players. Same greed. Rebecca put Mara's name on the byline this time. Her first official credit. It felt good. Real. Like she was building something that mattered instead of just surviving. But late at night, when the apartment was quiet and the city hummed beyond her window, she thought about Adrian, about the kiss that had started everything, about the way he'd looked at her in that warehouse like she was brave instead of terrified, about how some people walked into your life and changed everything and then walked back out before you could figure out what that meant. December came with snow and Christmas lights, and the kind of cold that made your bones ache. Mara visited Danny for the first time in 8 months. Took the bus because she still couldn't afford a car, but at least now she could afford the trip. He looked better. Physical therapy was helping. He'd regained some movement in his left hand. Not much, but enough to hold a fork. Enough to text her without voice commands. They spent 2 days together, talking, laughing, avoiding the topic of what had almost happened, what she'd almost lost. On the last night, Danny asked the question she'd been waiting for. "You ever hear from him? The guy who helped you?" "No." "You want to?" Mara stared at the ceiling of Danny's room. Small, institutional. But he'd made it his. Photos on the walls, books on the shelf. A life carved out of circumstances that should have broken him. "I don't know," she said. "What would be the point?" "The point?" Danny shifted in his wheelchair. "The point is, you kissed a stranger to stay alive, and then he actually saved you. That's not nothing, Mar. It was survival, that's all." "Was it?" She didn't answer, couldn't. Danny sighed. "You know what your problem is? You think you don't deserve good things. You think if you want something, it means you're being selfish or weak or I don't know what." He wheeled closer. "But you're allowed to want things. You're allowed to be happy, even if it's complicated. It's not about being happy. He has a life, a son. He lives in Seattle. So we live in different worlds. You lived in different worlds when he saved you. Didn't stop him then." Mara looked at her brother, at the person who knew her best, who'd watched her claw her way out of poverty and into something resembling stability. "What if I reach out and he doesn't want to hear from me?" she asked quietly. "Then you're exactly where you are now, alone, safe, wondering what if." Danny's expression softened. "Or what if he does want to hear from you? What if you're both too scared to make the first move and you spend the rest of your life regretting it?" She thought about that all the way back to the city, about regret, about fear, about the space between wanting something and having the courage to reach for it. The trial started the second week of January. Mara watched it on the news like everyone else. Cameras weren't allowed in the courtroom, but reporters lined up outside every day. Commentators dissected every development. Legal experts weighed in on every motion. Damien looked smaller somehow, diminished, in an orange jumpsuit instead of a $1,000 suit. His lawyers were good, but they couldn't fight the evidence, couldn't explain away the documents, couldn't discredit the witnesses. Adrian testified on day 4. Mara watched the news coverage afterward, saw him on the courthouse steps, surrounded by reporters. He looked tired, older, like the last 6 months had aged him. A reporter shoved a microphone in his face. "Mr. Vale, how do you respond to the defense's claim that you contaminated the evidence?" "The evidence speaks for itself." "What about Mara Quinn? Will she be testifying?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Ms. Quinn has already given a deposition. She's answered every question. What more do you want from her?" "Is it true you two were involved romantically during the investigation?" For a moment, something flashed across Adrian's face. Anger, maybe, or frustration. Ms. Quinn is a brave woman who risked everything to expose corruption. That's the story, not whatever tabloid nonsense you're trying to spin. He pushed through the crowd and disappeared into a waiting car. Mara watched the clip 3 times, heard the way he said her name. Like it still mattered, like she still mattered. She picked up her phone, put it down, picked it up again. Finally, she typed, "Saw you on the news. You looked good, angry, but good." She stared at the message for 5 minutes before deleting it. Too casual, too familiar, too much like she'd been thinking about him when she definitely hadn't been thinking about him. She tried again. "Hope the trial's going okay. Let me know if you need anything." Delete. Again. "Hey, delete." This was ridiculous. She was a grown woman who'd faced down a criminal and survived. She could send a simple text message. She settled on, "Saw your testimony coverage. You did well. Hope you're taking care of yourself." She hit send before she could overthink it. 3 hours later, her phone buzzed. "Adrian. Thanks. It's been rough. How are you? Simple, direct, safe. Mara. Good. Working. Staying busy. Adrian. I saw your byline on the pharmaceutical story. Rebecca sent me a link. You're a good writer." Something warm bloomed in her chest. He'd been following her work. Mara. Thanks. How's Ethan? Adrian. Growing too fast. He lost a tooth last week and cried because he thought he was broken. Mara smiled at her phone. Mara, did you fix him? Adrian, told him everyone loses baby teeth. He didn't believe me until I showed him pictures of me at his age, missing the same tooth. Mara, good dad move. Adrian, trying. The conversation ended there, natural, easy, but something had shifted. A door had opened. They texted sporadically over the next week. Nothing deep, just small updates. Adrian sent a photo of Ethan's science project. Mara sent one of her desk buried under research files. He told her about the trial. She told him about the apartment above hers where someone played saxophone at 2 a.m. It wasn't much, but it was something. The verdict came down on a Friday. Guilty on all counts. 37 charges. Damien Thorne showed no emotion when the foreman read the decision, just sat there like a statue while the courtroom erupted. Sentencing was scheduled for March. Prosecutors were asking for 40 years. Defense was begging for leniency. No one expected it to work. Mara watched the coverage with Rebecca. They'd ordered Chinese food and camped out in Rebecca's office, celebrating quietly. You did this, Rebecca said, raising a glass of cheap wine. You took down one of the biggest frauds in the industry. We did this, Mara corrected. You gave me the platform. I gave you the microphone. You had the courage to speak. Rebecca drank. Not many people would have fought back the way you did. Mara thought about all the people who'd come before her, the ones who'd stayed silent, the ones who'd lost. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You chose to fight. Rebecca set down her glass. So what's next? You've got job offers coming in. I fielded at least 6 calls this week from papers wanting to poach you. Are you trying to get rid of me? Never, but I'm also not going to hold you back if you want something bigger. Mara looked around Rebecca's cramped office. Stacks of files, coffee-stained carpet, a window that looked out at a brick wall. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. I'm good here, she said. For now. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. He lost. Completely. Mara. I know. I watched. Adrian. You should feel good. You won. Mara. We won. Adrian. Yeah, we did. A pause. Then another message. Adrian. I'm in the city for another week, wrapping up loose ends with the prosecutors. Would you want to get coffee or dinner or just, I don't know, talk? Mara's heart kicked against her ribs. This was different. This was real. Mara. When? Adrian. Tomorrow? There's a place near Union Square. Franco's. 7? Mara. I'll be there. She showed up 15 minutes early because nervous energy made her walk too fast. The restaurant was small, cozy, the kind of place where people went for conversation instead of atmosphere. Adrian was already there, sitting at a corner table. He stood when he saw her. Hi, he said. Hi. They sat, ordered drinks, made small talk about the weather and the trial and everything except what they both knew they needed to discuss. Finally, Adrian set down his water. This is awkward. Very, Mara agreed. I don't know how to do this. The normal way. Meeting someone. Getting to know them without criminals and death threats involved. Me neither. He smiled. Actually, smiled. Well, at least we're honest about it. The waiter came. They ordered food they wouldn't remember later. Pasta, salad, something with chicken. I thought about calling you, Adrian said when they were alone again. About 100 times, but I didn't know what to say. I did the same thing, typed and deleted so many messages. Why didn't you send them? Mara traced the rim of her glass. Because I thought maybe what we had only existed in that moment, in the chaos, and outside of it, we were just 2 strangers who'd survived something together. And now I don't know. She looked at him. What do you think? Adrian was quiet. Then, I think I haven't stopped thinking about you since I left. I think every time I see my son, I remember that you reminded me what mattered. I think when I testified, all I could think about was whether you were watching, whether you were okay. He paused. I think I'm terrible at this. At relationships. At being present. At all the things you'd need from someone in your life. But I want to try anyway. Mara's throat tightened. I'm terrible at it too. I don't let people in. I don't ask for help. I spent my whole life believing I had to do everything alone because no one else would show up. She reached across the table, took his hand. But you showed up when it mattered most. You showed up. His fingers curled around hers. So did you. The food came. They ate, talked about real things, about childhoods and dreams and all the ways they'd built walls to keep people out. Adrian told her about his ex-wife, how she'd begged him to stay, to choose them, how he thought he could have both and ended up with neither. Mara told him about Danny, about watching her brother fight through physical therapy while she sent money she didn't have, about the guilt that came with surviving when someone you loved was suffering. They talked until the restaurant started closing, until the waiter brought the check twice. Outside, the city was quiet, cold, beautiful in the way cities are when you're not afraid anymore. I'm here for another 5 days, Adrian said. Then I have to go back to Seattle, back to Ethan. I know, but I could come back, visit. We could figure out how to make this work. Long distance, complicated. Whatever this is. Could we? I don't know, but I'd like to try. He stepped closer. If you want to. Mara looked up at him, at this man who'd changed everything, who'd walked into her life during the worst moment and somehow made it better. I want to, she said. He kissed her then. Different from the first time. Not survival, not performance. Just them. Real and messy and uncertain. When they pulled apart, both of them were smiling. This is crazy, Mara said. Completely. We barely know each other. True. It'll probably be a disaster. Most likely. Adrian took her hand. Want to try anyway? She did. They spent the next 5 days together. Not every hour, not constantly. Adrian had meetings, depositions, final interviews with prosecutors. But in the spaces between, they found each other. Coffee in the mornings before he had to work. Late dinners when he was done. A walk through the park where they talked about nothing important and everything that mattered. He met Danny over video call. Her brother grilled him like a suspicious parent, asked about his intentions, his job, his ability to actually show up. Adrian answered honestly, said he didn't know if he could be what Mara needed, but he wanted to try, wanted to be better. Danny approved, grudgingly, but approval nonetheless. On Adrian's last night, they went back to Franco's. Same table, same waiter who recognized them. When will you be back? Mara asked. 2 weeks. I have to get Ethan settled, talk to his mother, figure out custody arrangements. He paused. I'm going to ask for more time with him, regular time, not just whenever I can squeeze it in. She'll agree? I think so. She wants what's best for Ethan, and I'm finally ready to be that. He reached across the table. But I'll call. Every day. And we'll figure this out. Promise? Promise. The next morning, she took him to the airport, stood at the curb while he grabbed his bag from the trunk. This isn't goodbyes, he said. I know. I'm serious. 2 weeks. I'll be back. I believe you. He kissed her. Quick, public, real. Then he was gone. Through security, out of sight. Mara stood there for a moment, letting herself feel it, the loss, the hope, the terrifying possibility that maybe this time things could actually work. 2 weeks turned into 3, then 4. Not because Adrian didn't try, but because life happened. Ethan got sick. Adrian's custody negotiation got complicated. Work pulled him in different directions. They talked every day. Video calls where Ethan sometimes appeared, rambling about dinosaurs or school or the new bike Tom had bought him. Mara liked the kid, liked the way Adrian's whole face changed when he talked to his son, liked the glimpses into this other part of his life. But she also felt the distance, the way conversations got cut short, the way plans kept getting postponed. I'm sorry, Adrian said one night, 2 months after he'd left. I know I said 2 weeks. I know I promised. It's okay. It's not, but I'm trying. I swear I'm trying. I know you are. Silence, heavy, full of everything unsaid. Maybe this was a mistake, Adrian said quietly. Maybe we're trying to force something that doesn't fit. Mara felt something crack in her chest. Is that what you think? I don't know. I can't be in two places at once. I can't be the father Ethan needs and the partner you deserve. I never asked you to choose. I know, but that's what it feels like. He rubbed his face. I'm doing it again. Building a life around should instead of is, and I don't know how to stop. Then don't stop. She paused, gathered courage. Just be honest with me. Do you want this? Really? Yes. Then we figure it out. Not perfectly, not easily, but we figure it out. Her voice steadied. I didn't survive everything we went through just to give up when things get complicated. Adrian smiled, small, tired, real. You're tougher than me. I know. They kept trying. Scheduled visits, actual dates on the calendar. Adrian flew in twice a month. Mara went to Seattle once, met Ethan properly, watched Adrian be a father. It wasn't smooth, wasn't easy. There were fights, misunderstandings, moments where the distance felt impossible. But they kept showing up. March came. Sentencing day. Mara flew to Seattle so she and Adrian could watch together. Damien Thorne stood in that courtroom one last time, heard the judge read out 42 years. No parole for the first 20. He'd be 78 before he walked free. If he lived that long. Adrian pulled Mara close while the news played. It's really over. It's really over. They sat there, his apartment, his son asleep in the next room, the TV showing footage of Damien being led away in handcuffs. I need to tell you something, Adrian said. Mara's stomach dropped. Here it comes, the breakup, the realization that this wasn't working. What? I'm moving, back to the city, back to New York. She blinked. What? I talked to my ex, to Tom, to Ethan. We're working out a new arrangement. I'll have him summers and holidays, video calls every night. But I can't keep living 3,000 miles from everything else that matters. He looked at her. From you. Adrian? I know it's crazy. I know it's fast, but I'm tired of running. Tired of choosing between different parts of my life. I want to be in one place, build one life. With you. If you'll let me. Mara couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Say something, he said. You're serious. Completely. What about your work? I can work anywhere. That's the advantage of chasing criminals. They're everywhere. He took her hands. I'm not asking you to take care of me, or fix me, or be responsible for my happiness. I'm just asking you to let me try, to build something real together. She thought about all the times she'd been alone, all the times she'd told herself she didn't need anyone, that independence was strength and connection was weakness. She thought about Adrian showing up that first night, stepping between her and Damien, choosing to fight when he could have walked away. She thought about the photo on her fridge, the messages, the calls, the way he'd kept showing up even when it was hard. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay, move back. Let's try. Let's build something. He kissed her, hard, grateful, real. And for the first time in her life, Mara Quinn let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved something good. Adrian moved back to New York in April. Not with fanfare or grand gestures, just boxes in a moving truck and a lease on an apartment 20 minutes from Mara's place. Close enough to matter, far enough to breathe. The first month was strange. They'd built something in crisis, in distance, in the gaps between phone calls. Now they had to figure out what it looked like in daylight, in normal life, in the mundane reality of grocery shopping and bills and whose turn it was to pick up takeout. It wasn't always easy. Adrian had habits, worked late, forgot to eat, sometimes disappeared into his laptop for hours chasing leads on cases that didn't involve them anymore. Mara had her own rhythms, needed silence to write, got irritable when interrupted, sometimes pushed people away when they got too close because distance had always felt safer than vulnerability. They fought about stupid things, whose fault it was that the milk went bad, whether they should go to dinner with Rebecca or stay in, how much time Adrian should spend on the phone with Ethan versus with her. The fights never lasted long, but they happened, proof that this was real, messy, human. I don't know how to do this, Adrian said one night after a particularly brutal argument about nothing and everything. They were sitting on opposite ends of his couch, not touching, both stubborn. Do what? Be in a relationship without screwing it up. Every time I think I'm getting it right, I do something that proves I'm still the same guy who lost his family the first time. Mara looked at him, at the exhaustion in his face, the fear. You're not the same guy. That guy wouldn't have moved across the country, wouldn't have fought for custody, wouldn't be sitting here admitting he's scared. Doesn't mean I'm any good at this. Neither am I. She moved closer. Not all the way, just enough. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't have to be good at it. We just have to keep showing up. He looked at her, really looked. Even when I'm being an idiot? Especially then. Something in him relaxed. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. I'm sorry, he said, for earlier, for being defensive, for making it about me when you were just trying to tell me you missed me. I'm sorry, too, for expecting you to read my mind, for getting mad instead of just saying what I needed. They sat like that for a while, holding hands, learning. Ethan visited in June, first time meeting Mara in New York, first time seeing his dad's new life up close. The kid was nervous. Mara could see it in the way he clung to his backpack, the way he watched her like she might disappear if he blinked. You like pizza? She asked on the first night. Ethan nodded, didn't speak. Good, because I know a place that has the best pizza in the city, maybe in the world. You want to test that theory? Another nod. They went to a tiny place in Brooklyn, no tourists, no pretense, just good food and people who didn't care if a 7-year-old got sauce all over his face. Ethan ate 3 slices, then looked at Mara. Are you my dad's girlfriend? Adrian tensed. Mara could feel it. Yeah, she said. I am. Is that okay? Ethan considered this, serious, thoughtful. Do you make him happy? I try to. Does he seem happy to you? Happier than before. Ethan took another bite. He smiles more now, on the phone, when he talks about you. Something warm expanded in Mara's chest. Well, you make him happiest, so I think we're both doing a good job. Ethan smiled, small, genuine. Can I have ice cream? Absolutely. Adrian caught her eye across the table, mouthed, thank you. She mouthed back, he's a good kid. The 2 weeks Ethan stayed were chaotic. Adrian tried to do everything, be everywhere, make up for lost time. He exhausted himself trying to be the perfect father. On day 9, he crashed, fell asleep on the couch at 7 p.m. while Ethan was still wide awake. Mara found them like that. Adrian unconscious, Ethan sitting next to him, drawing in a sketchbook. He tired? She asked quietly. Yeah, he's been tired a lot. Ethan didn't look up from his drawing. He tries to hide it, but I can tell. You're pretty observant. My mom says I notice things other people miss. He held up the sketchbook. A drawing of Adrian. Rough, childish, but clearly him. Do you think he's okay? Like really okay? Mara sat down, careful not to wake Adrian. I think he's learning how to be present, how to balance everything. It's hard for him, but he's trying. Because of you? Because of you. I just reminded him what he already knew. Ethan went back to drawing. I'm glad he has you. He's been alone for a long time. It made him sad even when he pretended it didn't. Kids saw too much, understood too much. Can I tell you something? Mara asked. Okay. Your dad talks about you all the time, every day, every conversation. He thinks you're the most important person in the world. And he's right. Ethan's pencil stopped moving. He does. He does. And he's so proud of you, the person you're becoming, the way you're kind and smart and brave. Ethan's eyes got wet. He wiped them quickly. I miss him. When he's not here, even though Tom's nice and Mom's great, I still miss my dad. I know, and he misses you too. So much it hurts sometimes. Does it get easier, the missing? Mara thought about Danny, about all the years she'd lived far from him, the calls that never felt like enough, the visits that always ended too soon. No, she said honestly, it doesn't get easier, but you learn to carry it. And the time you do have together matters more. Ethan nodded, went back to his drawing. Adrian woke up an hour later, disoriented, guilty. I fell asleep. I'm sorry. We were supposed to... It's fine, Dad, Ethan said. Mara and I hung out. We talked. Adrian looked at Mara. She smiled, shrugged. That night, after Ethan was asleep in the guest room, Adrian pulled her close. What did you two talk about? Stuff? Kid stuff. He likes you. I like him too. Adrian kissed her forehead. Thank you. For being good to him. For not making this weird. It is weird, but weird's okay. Yeah? Yeah. When Ethan left, the apartment felt too quiet. Adrian walked around like something was missing, checked his phone constantly, called twice a day instead of once. Mara understood. Let him grieve the distance. Let him figure out how to be a part-time father who wanted to be full-time. Work helped. Adrian took on more cases, local ones this time. No more cross-country flights. No more weeks away. Mara kept writing, kept digging into stories that mattered. She'd found her rhythm at Rebecca's paper, found purpose in exposing the truth. They built a life. Imperfect. Complicated. Real. In August, Harwick Gallery officially closed, sold off in pieces. The building bought by a tech company, the art scattered to museums and private collections. Mara watched the news coverage, felt nothing. That part of her life was over, buried, done. You okay? Adrian asked. They were having breakfast in his apartment, lazy Sunday, no plans. Yeah, I thought I'd feel something, relief maybe, or satisfaction, but it's just over. That's how it works sometimes. The big moments end quietly. Is that what this is? A quiet ending? No. He reached across the table. This is a quiet beginning. She liked that, held on to it. In September, Danny moved to New York. Not because of Mara, but because a rehabilitation center in the city had accepted him into an experimental program. Better therapy, better equipment, better chance at regaining more mobility. Mara helped him move in. Adrian helped too. The three of them spent a weekend assembling furniture and arguing about where things should go. You're good for her, Danny said when Mara left to get coffee. Adrian looked up from the dresser he was building. You think? Yeah, she's different now. Less. I don't know. Less like she's waiting for the world to collapse. She told me once she spent her whole life expecting the worst, preparing for it. Our childhood did that, never having enough, never feeling safe. Danny wheeled closer, but you showed up when it mattered, when she needed someone. That changes a person. She showed up for herself. I just helped. Don't sell yourself short. I've watched her survive a lot of things alone. It's different when someone actually stays. Adrian thought about that, about staying, about the choice to keep showing up even when it was hard. I'm not going anywhere, he said. Good. Because if you hurt her, wheelchair or not, I'll find a way to kick your ass. Adrian smiled. Fair enough. October brought rain and cold and the kind of darkness that made the city feel smaller. Mara and Adrian started spending more nights together. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. She kept her apartment, he kept his, but the space between them felt less important, more like a choice than a necessity. One night, lying in his bed, staring at the ceiling, Mara asked the question she'd been avoiding. What happens if this doesn't work? Adrian turned to look at her. What do you mean? I mean, what if a year from now we realize this was just trauma bonding? Just two people who went through something intense and confused survival with love? Is that what you think this is? I don't know. Sometimes I'm terrified it is. That we're building something on a foundation that won't hold. Adrian was quiet. Then, I think about that too. Wonder if I'm just chasing the feeling of being needed, of mattering to someone. He rolled onto his side. But then I look at you, at the way you drink coffee, the way you get annoyed when people talk during movies, the way you call your brother every Sunday no matter what. He paused. And I think this isn't about what we survived. It's about who we are after. And who are we? Two people trying to be better, trying to build something real, trying to show up. He touched her face. That's not trauma. That's choice. Mara felt tears sting her eyes. What if I mess this up? What if I push you away because I don't know how to let someone in? Then I'll wait, and when you're ready, I'll be here. Promise? Promise. She kissed him then, slow, certain, real. November came with Thanksgiving and the awkward question of where to spend it. Adrian wanted Ethan to come to New York. His ex-wife wanted Ethan in Seattle with her family. Mara wanted everyone to stop fighting and just be together. They compromised. Ethan came for a long weekend. Mara's brother joined them. Rebecca stopped by with wine and stories. It was chaotic, loud. The turkey was overcooked and the mashed potatoes had lumps, and Ethan spilled cranberry sauce on the couch. It was perfect. After dinner, after Ethan and Danny were absorbed in some video game Adrian had bought, Rebecca pulled Mara aside. "You happy?" she asked. Mara looked around at the mess. The noise? The people who mattered. "Yeah," she said. "I think I am." "Good, you deserve it." Rebecca sipped her wine. "I've known you over a year now, watched you go from running for your life to building one. It's been something. I couldn't have done it without you. Sure you could have. You're tougher than you think." Rebecca's expression softened. "But I'm glad I could help. Glad we're friends." "Me too." December came fast. Holiday lights, snow that didn't stick. The feeling that something was ending and something else was beginning. Adrian flew to Seattle for Christmas, spent a week with Ethan. Mara stayed in New York with Danny. They had their own quiet celebration. Chinese food and bad movies, and the comfortable silence of people who'd survived everything together. On New Year's Eve, Adrian came back. Flew through a storm to make it home by midnight. Mara met him at the airport. He looked exhausted, happy. "You made it," she said. "Barely. Flight was delayed 3 hours." He kissed her. "But yeah, I made it." They went back to his apartment, watched the ball drop on TV, kissed at midnight like it was required. "What do you want this year?" Mara asked after. They were curled up on the couch, warm, safe. "This, more of this." Adrian pulled her closer. "You, Ethan, Danny, the messy, beautiful, complicated thing we're building. That's it? That's everything." He looked at her. "What do you want?" Mara thought about it. About the last 2 years. About everything she'd survived and fought for and almost lost. "I want to stop waiting for things to fall apart," she said. "I want to trust that good things can last, that I deserve them. You do. I'm working on believing that. We'll work on it together." January brought new cases, new stories, new rhythms. Adrian testified in another fraud trial. Smaller this time, less press, but still important. Mara broke a story about housing discrimination, won an award she didn't know existed. They celebrated separately, then together. In February, Ethan came for his birthday. Turned 8. Wanted a party with his dad and Mara and Danny. No one else. They gave him one. Cake, presents, terrible karaoke. Ethan fell asleep on the couch between Adrian and Mara. Small, content. "He's good," Mara whispered. "He is." Adrian watched his son sleep. "I think we're doing okay, all of us." "Yeah, I think we are." March brought the anniversary of Damien's sentencing. News outlets ran retrospectives. "Where are they now?" pieces. Mara's name came up. Adrian's too. They ignored most of it. Didn't need the reminder. Didn't want to relive it. But late one night, Mara watched an interview with one of Damien's other victims. A woman who'd gone to prison because of him. Who'd lost everything. "You okay?" Adrian asked, finding her in front of the TV. "I could have been her. If you hadn't shown up, if we hadn't fought back. That would be me. But it's not." "No, but it almost was." She turned off the TV. "Do you ever think about that? How close we came to losing? Every day." He sat beside her. "But we didn't lose, we won. And that woman, she's rebuilding now. I saw a follow-up piece. She got out, started over, she's surviving. Because we exposed him. Because she was strong enough to keep going." Adrian took her hand. "You didn't save everyone, Mara. But you saved yourself, and that matters. She knew he was right, but the guilt sat heavy anyway. What do we do with that? She asked. The knowledge that we got lucky when others didn't? We keep fighting, keep telling stories, keep exposing the people who hurt others. He squeezed her hand. We make it mean something. In April, a year after Adrian moved back, Mara's lease came up for renewal. She stood in her apartment looking at the notice, the place where she'd lived alone for 3 years, where she'd survived, where she'd built her independence. She could renew, keep the space, keep the distance, or she could take the leap. She texted Adrian, "My lease is up." Adrian, "Yeah? What are you thinking?" Mara, "I'm thinking maybe I don't need my own apartment anymore." 3 dots. Then, "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Mara, "If you're asking if I want to move in together, then yes, that's what I'm saying." Adrian, "Are you sure?" Mara, "No, but I want to try anyway." He showed up at her door 20 minutes later, out of breath, smiling. "You're sure?" he asked. "Stop asking me that. I'll change my mind." Okay. We're doing this. We're doing this. They moved in together in May, combined apartments, combined lives, combined everything. It was chaos. Too much furniture, not enough closet space, arguments about whose books went where. But they figured it out. Made room, made compromises, made it work. Ethan visited in June, saw the new place, his room, his space in their life. "So you guys are really together," he said. "Like, really, really." "Yeah," Adrian said. "Really, really." "Cool." Ethan unpacked his bag. "Can we get a dog?" Mara laughed. Adrian groaned, but they talked about it, seriously considered it. They didn't get a dog, but they got a cat. Small, orange, named Mango because Ethan insisted. The cat hated everyone except Mara, climbed into her lap while she worked, purred like an engine. "Traitor," Adrian muttered. "He has good taste," Mara said. In August, Rebecca offered Mara a promotion. Senior investigative reporter. More money, more responsibility, more stories. Mara accepted, then celebrated with Adrian and Danny and a bottle of cheap champagne that tasted expensive because they were together. "You've come a long way," Danny said, "from running for your life to running the investigation department." "I'm not running it." "You will be. Give it time." Mara looked at her brother, at how far he'd come too, walking with a cane now instead of a wheelchair. Slowly, painfully, but walking. "We both have," she said. September brought Ethan's first overnight visit without a set end date. Just a long weekend that turned into a week because no one wanted it to end. Adrian and his ex worked out a new arrangement. More time in New York, more flexibility, more trust that he'd show up. And he did. Every time. Every promise. In October, on a random Tuesday, Adrian asked Mara to marry him. No ring, no plan. Just sitting on the couch, watching TV, and suddenly knowing. "Marry me," he said. Mara looked at him. "What?" "Marry me. Not now, not tomorrow, but someday, when we're ready, when it feels right." He took her hand. "I just need you to know that's where this is going. For me. That's what I want." Mara's heart hammered. "You're serious?" "Completely." "We've only been living together for 6 months." "I know. We still fight about stupid things." "I know." "I'm not easy. I push people away. I have trust issues." "I know, and I'm a workaholic who misses calls and forgets anniversaries and still doesn't know how to balance everything." He smiled. "But I love you anyway, and I want to figure out the rest together." Mara felt tears on her face. Didn't remember when they'd started. "I love you too," she said. "And yeah, someday, when it's right, I'll marry you." He kissed her, and Mango the cat climbed onto both their laps, purring loudly, completely unimpressed. In November, Damien Thorne's appeal was denied. Final. Permanent. 42 years stood. The news was a footnote, barely covered. The world had moved on. Mara saw it, felt nothing, just closed her laptop and went back to her current investigation. Something about corporate tax fraud. Different criminals, same greed. The work never ended. But that was okay. She'd found her purpose in it, found meaning in exposing truth. Christmas came. Ethan spent 2 weeks. They built snowmen, watched movies, ate too much sugar. On Christmas morning, surrounded by wrapping paper and laughter, Mara looked around and realized something. This was home. Not the apartment, not the city. These people, this noise, this messy, complicated, beautiful thing they'd built. She'd spent her whole life thinking home was a place, stability, security. But it wasn't. Home was choosing to show up, choosing to stay, choosing to fight for something worth keeping. On New Year's Eve, 2 years after Adrian had come back, they hosted a party. Small, intimate, Rebecca, Danny, Ethan, a few other friends. At midnight, after the champagne and the countdown, Mara pulled Adrian onto the balcony. The city spread below them. Lights, life, possibility. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For showing up, that first night, when you could have walked away. Thank you for kissing me, for trusting me when you had no reason to. We were pretty stupid. Completely stupid." He pulled her close. "Want to stay stupid together? For the rest of my life." They kissed as fireworks exploded over the city. Bright, loud, beautiful. Inside, Ethan and Danny were arguing about what game to play next. Rebecca was pouring more champagne. Mango was hiding under the couch from the noise. Everything was chaotic, imperfect, uncertain. Everything was exactly right. Mara had learned something in the last 2 years. Something important. Life didn't wait for you to be ready. Didn't ask permission before it knocked you down. But it also gave you chances. Small moments where you could choose differently. Choose to fight. Choose to trust. Choose to let someone in. She'd taken that chance. With Adrian. With herself. With the terrifying possibility that maybe she deserved good things. And it had changed everything. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but completely. Because the truth was simple. You didn't survive trauma by being fearless. You survived by being afraid and doing it anyway. By showing up even when you wanted to run. By trusting even when trust felt impossible. By kissing a stranger in a moment of desperation and letting it become something real. Mara Quinn had spent 30 years learning to survive alone. And then she'd learned something better. She'd learned to survive together. To build a life not in spite of fear, but because of it. To turn desperation into hope and strangers into family. She looked at Adrian. At the man who'd chosen to stay when leaving would have been easier. "I'm glad you're here," she said. "Me too." And there, on a balcony in New York City, surrounded by noise and light and people who mattered, Mara Quinn finally understood what it meant to be home. Not safe, not perfect, not fearless, just loved, just enough, just real. And that after everything was more than she'd ever thought possible. The fireworks continued, the city celebrated, and two people who'd survived the worst found themselves building the best. Not because they had to, because they chose to. Every single day.